Hello, hello. It's exciting times. Thank you all who are joining in. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes before I dive right in, but I welcome you in. This is an exciting topic today. Um, and so today we picked this topic, this title specifically because, I think we've all heard it in the last 2 years that we are going to get replaced by AI. And in the talent industry, that is even more so. So, this is not going to be a product demo. It's not going to be um, really talking that much about round one AI, that we will get into it. I want to talk about the hype, the real things really challenging us as AI comes even more to the forefront. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. Once my um, two panelists join, we'll introduce them and get them excited. Please introduce yourself in the comments in the chat. Just some quick housekeeping. We will be looking at the chat. We will be responding to your comments. We will be doing all of the things. So exciting times. Exciting times. Hi, team. How are you today?
Hello. Hello.
Mayor, Tejal.
Hi.
Hi. So everyone, I want to introduce my wonderful panelist. I'm going to start with Tejal. Tejal is the ex-Amazon recruiter, sourcer, product marketing manager. She's done it all in Amazon. And now she's on the other side with the candidates and job searching. She has an app called Get Selected, and she runs a company called Caffeinated Coffee. Tejal, I've heard you say I've spent years building hiring systems. Now you've seen the other side. What did I miss about you?
I don't think you missed anything. We've known each other for a very long time, Des. So I would be surprised if you missed anything. I would be offended, Des. I thought we were friends.
I think if I screwed that one up, I'd be in trouble. So I tried to get that one right. Oh, and then Mayor Macron, who is the CEO and founder of Round One AI. Glad to see you, sir. And I have a quote from you that you built the AI screening tools for recruiting teams, which means you're probably the most conflicted person on this panel about whether AI is a good thing for recruiters. How about
Sounds
that?
like that. Sounds like that's pretty exciting because we're just looking at the title. It looks like we are taking it head on. We are not bushing around these questions. Let's take it on.
Yeah, let's do it. And like I said in the beginning, if you missed it, the title is a little bit of clickbait in that we wanted to get you in here to discuss a very important topic as AI moves to the forefront and what whether it's all hype, whether it's just not true, and how we can navigate the world in AI, especially in the talent industry. So excited to get into this one. I'm going to start with Tejal. You talk to candidates, recruiters every single day. When you hear the title, is are you training your replacement? What do you think about that? Is it true?
I laugh. Honestly, I laugh really hard. I have said this since ChatGPT launch, and everyone was just slapping AI, ML, AI this and ML that. And Mayur, I think we talked about that when we were on the call. I laugh because AI is not going to replace good humans, workers in the corporate world. It is going to replace certain tasks. And we have all seen the layoffs that are dedicated to AI. And now companies are coming back and being like, oh, we needed all those people. Wait, we might have jumped the gun here because AI is costing more than the people that they were employing. So every time I hear, are you anything about AI replacing workers, I cannot help but cackle like a maniac.
I love it. Mayor, what do you think about that?
The fear is real, right? Obviously, because the knowledge passes across from so many social media feed and Unfortunately, apparently, whatever is that algorithm, whatever gets more eyeballs, right? So more people see them. But apparently, what I see on the builder side is the fear is real if you are not adopting it, if you are not catching up with it. If you keep saying that no, it's because it's gonna take on my job, I'm not gonna use it, then you probably keeping yourself behind the curve. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was reading an article, I think it was about IKEA doing, or someone doing a lot of AI kind of replacement within their systems and their workers, but they found jobs for those workers in other places and trained them up, right? Which is really how we should be thinking about doing this, especially in the recruiting world. And I always say, you're not going to get replaced if you adopt and become a strategic partner in recruiting, right? If you don't, it's going to replace the not so great recruiters and those who can't figure out how to be more than order takers, because recruiting, a lot of what can be done, it can be done by AI, but if the people part can't be done. And that's, it's super distinction of how we think about whether or not it's going to replace us. So, I think we've all seen the LinkedIn post and all the crazy. How much of that, though, really the LinkedIn anxiety building is overblown? And where should we dial that down? And what should the message really be? Tejal, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think I watched this video recently about psychology where it said that the number one thing that humans react to is anger. So the base level emotion is anger, is fear. And I think a lot of posts are doing that. They're tapping into this base level emotion that we have, which is anger or fear. And rage bait is rage bait, and it gets the most amount of clicks because we are afraid, because we are angry. And I think we all need to, and I call this out whenever I see a post like this, I'm like, no, let's take it back a little bit. Let's dial it down a little bit. And I think we need to start acknowledging that what they are trying to do is elicit a response from us. We need to be better consumer of content as consumers, right? Like we are all consumers of content, and we need to be better consumers and understand that these people are trying to elicit a response from us. Did I miss the second part of your question? Sorry.
No, that was really it. I think it was the anxiety part of LinkedIn as we scroll through, like kind of doom scrolling through LinkedIn. I think you can make yourself crazy a little bit. And this is one of the most talked about topics right now is AI coming for everybody's jobs? Mayur, what do you think about that?
So, yeah, I totally agree with Tejal. That fear and anxiety on LinkedIn is real. But if I try to ground it from my point of view, AI is not coming for recruiters. The tasks are moving. Your job description might change. So it's coming at least at the first. It's coming for the tasks that were not actually recruiting, right? Calling the candidates, scheduling, or doing top level screening, reading their CVs. Those kind of tasks are being automated over to the AI, but the actual, what I call actual recruiting is the judgment. You got 100 people CVs, and it's your judgment looking at the evidence who goes to the next step, right? That is not going to be automated, and I wish that doesn't happen because that's the most human part. And if as a recruiter, if you're doing that, you're totally safe.
Yeah, I totally and completely agree. And I encourage people to doom scroll a little less, though I post on LinkedIn every day. So I should, I'm a product of my own complaint here a little bit. But yeah, I think you're both right. I think it's an anxiety build. It is the anchor. It is the clickbait. And we really need to think about the solution, not like really put ourselves in that anger and the clickbait. Tejal, I have a specific question for you. I mean, you were at Amazon for a long time and, you know, did some really important work there. And even were on the product marketing side, which I found fascinating how you moved from, you know, the recruiting space over to that. But now that you're on the other side of things, and have seen what's going on, what are you seeing out there? What are your candidates saying to you about using AI as an interviewer, using AI in the process? How is that what are you seeing?
Yeah, I would say that when I speak to job seekers, when I speak to my clients, a lot of times they have this gut instinct or gut fears, like AI rejected my application before a human even saw it, right? We've seen this go around for quite some time. And I would ask them, like, why do you think that? Why is that a thing? And beyond that, with AI specifically, I think a lot of people are just afraid of what they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So job seekers don't know how companies are using AI in their day-to-day roles, right? Every company is saying, hey, we're using AI in our hiring. Every company is saying we're using AI in recruiting, whether you have Meta, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, all of these companies are saying, hey, we are using AI. And that makes job seekers nervous. But having been on the other side, and maybe things have changed in the last year since I've not been there, the use of AI did not replace the judgment of the recruiter, like Mayur said. It was still a thing where if I went to my hiring manager and said, hey, this is a person you need to interview, AI can't do that. AI cannot build that trust, because I had directors, VPs that were like, okay, I will interview them because you said yes to this candidate. Right. So to Mayur's point, AI is not going to replace that judgment. And I think and I coach this to people all the time, I'm like, don't worry about AI, worry about the human. Even if you believe there is an AI that is rejecting you or that's filtering your resume or your application, you still need to be in front of a human eventually. So worry about the human there.
Right. And Mayur, to follow this up, you know, you're a builder of a product that people are a little worried about, right? And that they get it in the beginning and they're like, oh God, it's the AI interviewer. And also for recruiters, they're like, oh, this changes everything, you know, it changes my process. It gets crazy, and they're a little scared as well. But, you know, what is not true about the product that you've built? And, you know, how should recruiters be thinking about it?
Sure. So right back to Tejal's point, you know, it's funny when we hear candidates saying that AI rejected me, because it's a second version when people used to say ATS rejected me. You know, we on the other end side, we know both of them are not true, right?
Right.
What's happening, or the problem that should be solved, is not through more AI at reading CVs. You know, what we're trying to solve the way is that rather than, you know, let candidate fear that AI might reject me, let's go to the candidate and let them talk to the AI. So let them present their case to the AI, not just a bunch of strings so that they can reject, right? So at least candidate has a fairer chance of putting themselves first. Right?
Yeah.
Recruiters can look at it in a different perspective again, right? So you have looked at the CVs all your life, right? And there are still some really gold CVs out there. You know, I still find some amazing CVs, and what Tejal does is amazing at it, right? But most people are just taking a shortcut of using AI to write CV in 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then apply to jobs at scale, which causes so much of disruption on a recruiter's desk, right? So it's all together, it's creating different problems.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the volume right now that recruiters are seeing is unheard of. And so as I do this work, you know, for clients and things like that, I mean, they're receiving 400 to 500 applications per role, and that it's time consuming. and you eventually don't get to everybody. And I think the tools that can help us get there and be more fair in the process, I think is a winner for me. Hey, Joel, we had a comment. After Amazon, did you trust the hiring process? Did you understand it any better? I mean, what was the outcome of all that time at Amazon?
Did I trust the Amazon hiring process
less, or just understand it better?
I do trust the Amazon hiring process. And having been on the other side, having worked with multiple teams and being in training for being a bar raiser, for those of you who know, and interviewing like people that were in, I'm blanking on the word, the facilities, fulfillment centers. I was like, it's an F word. Interviewing people in the fulfillment center and on the corporate side, non-tech side, I would say Amazon hiring process, when done well, works really well, and it's fair and it's unbiased, and it is meant to be the gold standard. Not done well, you kind of get the same thing as everyone else, but a little bit longer, a little bit more arduous. So I think it matters who you are talking about, which team you're talking about, what the recruiter looks like, what the manager looks like, what the team looks like. All of that matters. So I would say if you are, the job seeker, if you are in the Amazon hiring process, see how your recruiter communicates with you, because that is going to be the number one deciding factor, or number one telltale sign of whether you are going to get a good process or not a good process. Because as we know, recruiters can make or break an experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are good recruiters and bad recruiters, just like there are good engineers and bad engineers. I mean, it's just the truth of how recruiting works, right? You get a great recruiter and you're like, I love you because this process is so great. And to back up that, we had another comment that said, Tejal, you've been on the recruiter side and now you've been in the candidate side. Where do you think the process is most broken right now?
I don't know that I would say that the process is broken. I would say that the process that's a blanket statement. Generally, the process is not broken. That is not to say there are not bad companies with terrible processes, because I've gone in and created processes when they had no process. I think the disconnect is the lack of transparency between companies and candidates. There is as much information as companies try to put out to be a good employer and create this employer branding and employer perception to job seekers. If job seekers are not looking at it, it doesn't matter to them. Right. It will still be ambiguous to them. So I think the transparency aspect is where there's a disconnect, and I wouldn't call it necessarily broken. I would call it missing each other in communication. They're just, going like this.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish we would stop saying over and over again, the process is broken without taking any action, and communication is probably the biggest the biggest problem in everything that we do in the talent industry, to me. So
I'm gonna back you up on that. I often, when I see on LinkedIn, when people are like, the process is broken, I'm like, okay, what part of the process is broken? What do we need to do to change it, in your opinion? And what are the next steps?
Right.
Typically, the process that they think is built by a recruiter is not built by a recruiter, and they think recruiters are evil or recruiters. I once had a comment on my LinkedIn post that said that recruiters belong in the 7th level of hell, along with Adolf Hitler. All recruiters belong with Adolf Hitler in the 7th level of hell. And I was like, well, that's a statement. Thank you. So I think if you are going to say the process is broken, what part of the process is broken? Do you understand the process? Do you know what is going on? And what would you do differently? Yeah. Right? And I think we can say that being a hiring manager, you don't have time to review 400, 500 applications that come through, right? So you need a recruiter. You need somebody to filter through those applications. Yeah. And that's where the recruiter comes in, is to have that judgment call initially. We're not just, Desiree, like you mentioned earlier, like we're not just order takers. We cannot just be order takers.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor, you build this stuff for a living, right? And you built AI and hiring now. And where do you think it crosses the line between recruiter to replacing one? And that's not for round one, that's industry wide. Like, where are we making the mistakes in AI right now?
Sure. So I'll answer this a little bit differently, because it has a personal ethical aspect to that as well, right? Because it's recruitment. For example, if it was manufacturing or something else, I could answer it differently. But because it's recruitment, when you make a yes or no decision, you are actually impacting so many people's livelihood, right? So the line in the recruitment, whatever AI tool, whatever stage you use that tool in, right, whether it be a sourcing or screening or an actually interviewing, when you actually let AI make that decision of yes or no, that's when the line is crossed, right? So even with round one, all we do is screen the candidate, find the right evidence, and then present that evidence to the recruiter, and then let a recruiter make that call that, you know what, you said that you need someone with 10 years of experience based on so and so proof. Here is what he said, he has 8 years of experience, and now you make a decision, right? Rather than me or AI telling you to reject it or rejecting it without even knowing it, right? So yeah, that's a very strong line. Yeah.
So I have to ask this question, and this actually came up in the comments. When you started round one, how has it evolved to what it is now? Why did you choose voice screen? What is the version of round one you decided not to build?
Yeah, I think there's a graveyard of features that we built, tested, and then immediately or scraped very soon. One of the feature is exactly what I just mentioned, right? Not to make the decision, but just provide the evidence. Another one is not to have a video on the screening call. There are plenty of tools out there, I know, that have an AI avatar or an AI persona actually pretend to be a human and talking, right? Yeah, we've decided not to do that, at least not for now, because when you're screening candidates or interview might be different, but at least in the screening top of the funnel, you want to find the signal. You don't want them to be actor, right? You don't want them to be pretending to do something, because when you're looking at a camera, you know that there is no one on the other side right now, but later on it's either AI or someone is going to look at all of the expressions of my face, my eye movements and everything. It's then going to make a decision out of it, right? So rather than me being myself as a candidate, I'm going to turn into an actor, and that adds so many layers on top of the actual signal. So that's one thing we've decided we are never going to do, or at least for now. In the screening, we are not going to introduce video screenings. So many of my customers ask me for that. Why don't you do that? It's not a tech limitation. It's something that we decided very early on that no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. For me, as a person that looks at bias and all these other things, and also for people who are like neurodivergent, who get really upset during, interviews in their first screen. I think it solves a lot of those problems. And I agree with the just a voice screen. I actually don't want to talk to an avatar. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find it weird, and I'd rather just talk to the voice than talk to some weird avatar. I don't know. It's my opinion. Everybody can disagree with me, but in my experience, talking to them is very odd. How do you make sure round one is giving candidates a fair shot and is not presenting bias? Because I think that's a huge piece to understand here, where I think recruiters automatically, everyone has bias. It just doesn't matter, right? And I think some of the voice screen process of this takes a lot of that out of it. How do you make sure in round one that that's happening?
Sure. So quite interesting that round one, even though it's being an AI tool, a lot of the heavy lifting for the first time has to be done by a recruiter. It's the first step when you define what are your screening criteria. Obviously, AI will help you figure that out based on your job description or your intake notes, right? Um, and then the second most important part is figuring out what's the rubric for that. So these are the two most heavy lifting work that a recruiter or a hiring manager has to do on round one. Because if it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't tell AI what are your criteria, AI is just going to follow your prompt or your guidelines. So round one does it this way. It lets recruiter define the exact criteria of this role, and it tells them, this should be a rubric, but recruiter has to agree or fine tune that rubric. Based on that, the actual evaluation happens. So there's no way AI can give one candidate better question or easier question, or rank them easily. No, it's highly objective. We try to objectify this subjectiveness, basically, because it's a conversation which is much more subjective. We try to find signals and objectify them. So yeah, that's our way of making sure the candidates get a fair shot at it.
It's a good answer. This is a part. We're all going to answer this question a little bit, but I'm going to start with Tejal. What's a decision in the hiring process that AI should never be allowed to make alone, no matter how good the technology gets?
The first round screening. It should never, even when we get to a point where AI can, reject you, it should never be the only voice that says yes or no. Like, recruiters should always go in and be like, yes, no, because AI misses things. And I don't believe that we are ever going to, at least not in our lifetime, I believe, we're going to get to a point where AI is actually intelligent. It is artificial intelligence, called artificial intelligence for a reason. It is not intelligence, which is where humans come in.
Yeah, absolutely. From working with founders and working on instituting AI into their talent processes, I will say that, for me, the recruiter still needs to take that short list wherever they got it from and have those conversations, right? I want the short list because I don't have time, but I don't want to not have talked to them before I'm presenting to a hiring manager. And it should never make the judgment, right? I really struggle with these AI platforms right now that are making all the decisions, and it's really scary out here. And that's why some of these companies are getting sued right now. We should not be allowing AI to make any final decision on anything. Just like you said, it hallucinates. It does all kinds of crazy things. I'm never comfortable with the I'm always going to give my judgment to the AI that it produces. Mayor,
Yeah, totally agree with both of you. I'll just add one more nuanced answer to that is, along with the yes or no question, one of the most famous lawsuits in the US, I think that happened earlier this year or last year. If AI is using other resources to do background research on candidate, and if candidate is not made aware of that, right? Because candidate thinks that he's being judgment based on what is presented in that call, but in fact there are so many other data points AI has probably gathered from the internet, and that is, I think, very unethical, and that's why I think the lawsuit happened. Apparently, we have been very clear about that. Whatever is said 10-minute call with AI, that is all we will use to evaluate and judge you against, nothing else, right? So that's one more thing AI shouldn't be allowed to do.
Yeah, I mean, Leslie in the comments just brought up the Stanford study and it shows the impacts and unforeseen impacts of AI. And if you haven't read that study, that's actually very, very interesting, and goes into this moment which she mentioned, which is the recently about AI connections bumping all when they bump for one business. And it's actually really detailed and really good. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I suggest that people really look into the Stanford study because it's really, really, really interesting. So
I'm gonna
yeah.
Sorry, Des. I'm gonna add one thing on the Stanford study. There are people that are saying that it confirms that AI is auto rejecting you. That is not what the Stanford study is doing. Is not what the Stanford study does not mention AI auto rejecting you at all. Like,
at all. Yeah. Please stop making up stuff, okay, people? That's not what it says at all. If you read it with the right mindset, you will see that's not what it says. So it's actually very, very interesting. Mayor, I'm going to go to you and say, being the founder and CEO, you always want to sell more. But what's the one claim that you refuse to make for round one that may even help you sell more? Like, what is the one thing round one is never going to say they do and never going to put it out there, even though it might make you more revenue?
I'm going to split the user versus buyer and then give you the answer. So the buyer is going to buy it if the fastest way to sell AI is to promise that it's going to remove the human so that I have to hire less people to, pay them less. And that's exactly the promise I won't make. Obviously, it's going to slow down the selling, but there's so many things like that. For example, everyone talks about bias, right? I won't say we eliminate bias. No one can eliminate bias, right? You can make your criteria more consistent. You can make your rubric more consistent and measurable, and that's more consistent and fair reasoning out of it, right? I won't say that AI makes better hires. Again, it's so much subjective when it comes to AI. Instead, and if I said that AI would make a better hire, I would probably sell more, but I would say AI would make a more fairer hire. Another thing which is quite interesting for me right now, particularly we are working on that, is that we have a leaderboard. So based on the ranking of the candidates' performance, we put up a leaderboard, kind of a gamified version of all the candidates, right? Who's on the top. I'm yet to see that anyone was in the top 3. Maybe they were in the top 10 or 11 or 12, not the top 3. Right? It's not the best or better hire. It's more fairer hire, given all the signals and all the data to recruiters.
A question for me in the comment, but I'm going to put it to the team. I'm going to answer first though, is there a type or a role or industry where you say that you don't use AI screening? I'm going to answer this a little bit. I don't think there's an industry yet that I've found where we can't apply AI screenings here. I will say that executive search gets a little harder. Most executives do not want an AI screener, and they're not going to put up with it. They've earned probably 20 to 30 years in their career, and they're just not willing to put up with it. I'm going to send that to Tejal.
I would say I personally don't think AI should be doing any hiring in the healthcare industry space. Whether it's mental health, doctors, nurses, home caregivers or anything like that. I don't think AI should touch that at all, because there's a lot of human that needs to be involved. Having done healthcare staffing, there's so much nuance that you need to go through that I don't think AI should touch that anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I do think there are places in healthcare that it could work, but I don't disagree with you. Nurses and doctors, I don't think makes sense to put. I can't imagine what you would even ask, but that would be interesting. Maybe or
Again,
for you, what
yeah.
industry or role or anything
Sure.
like that?
So I think it goes back to that question again, that it's not the industry, it's the what level you are hiring AI at, right? Are you hiring AI to do a 45-minute interview? Then it's a different ball game. Whereas if you're using AI just for a top of the funnel screening, where you just want to collect some basic qualifying answers, right? Um, so as you rightly said, Desiree, I mean, any senior level role, someone with 10, 15, 20 years of experience, they're not going to entertain talking to an AI. But at the same time, the roles that they are applying to are not volume roles. So
Right.
recruiters receive like 30, 40, 50 applications, and they can easily work with that, being a human. Again, we have a customer who is using round one to hire some healthcare professionals, but they only use round one as a round one. It's like they receive so many candidates from across the world, from Philippines, from Brazil, from India, and they literally in the thousands, right? And you need a better way rather than just relying on a CV to screen them.
Right.
So it's not, I don't think it's an industry question, it's more of a senior. You don't want to screen a doctor, but just funny enough, recently someone, round one has something where you can try out the round one screener yourself, where it asks you what do you want to be screened for. Recently someone did it, I want to hire an international rugby player. And round one decided that, okay, let's make that screening for you.
International rugby player. Sorry, Dennis, I keep.
Well, right. Go ahead.
International rugby player. Like, I don't know if you'll like. You probably have watched Ted Lasso. I don't know, Des, if you watch Ted Lasso. Are they looking for like a Zava? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, absolutely. This goes, we have a comment, but it goes to my next question for you, Tejo. As you work with candidates right now, how do you help prep candidates get to this place where they're comfortable with AI screening? How do they prep for them? Like, how do you work in your role now as a career coach to work with AI?
Yeah, here's the thing, I don't push anybody, right? So if somebody's like, I have ethical qualms with AI, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't want to like be screened by an AI. I'm like, okay, reach out to the recruiter, reach out to the hiring manager, reach out to somebody at the company so you can get a human screener. But I will say that I tell them like something like round one or something that it's not a one-way video interview. I'll always tell them, I'm like, hey, this is something that is part of the process. Now you can either stop participating in the process, or you can participate in the process and like get through the screener to get to the actual person, right? Like if they have implemented this process, there's nothing you can do to change that process until you get to the other side and become an employee, right? Like you can give all the feedback you want, but the recruiter is not making this decision. But powers that be. So I will always say, I'm like, AI, I'm not going to say AI is here to stay, but AI is here and we need to adapt and adopt as much as we can within our own limitations, right? So I always tell them, like, is your ethical qualms more important to you than putting food on the table? And the answer typically is no. I'm like, okay, so let's, not trying to push you. If you say yes, your ethical qualms are more important to you than like you're putting food on the table, then I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to get you past the AI. But I'll always tell them, like, it is just a tool, and the tool is just as good as the humans that built it, humans that configured it, humans that are using it. So you can either, if you feel that AI is going to do XYZ, that is because the human that configured it on the other end is also going to do the XYZ.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we can have the same conversation about ATSs, by the way. Stop yelling at the ATS, everyone. Please. Oh my God. That could be a whole new webinar, by the way. But yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. I think the configuration of these things is what you get, whether they chose the video or the voice or whatever. And I agree with you. If your limitation is that, but it's not going away. So I suggest that we all find a way to be okay with some things, and get really comfortable, and not comfortable. I don't want to push anybody either, but I want to say there is a place where we need to get more comfortable with AI being around forever. I know it seems like it's been only 2 or 3 years that we've been really talking about it, but AI has been around for a very long time. We're just seeing it more and more in our daily work.
ChatGPT brought it to the forefront in front of consumers, like average everyday consumers. ChatGPT was like the critical tipping point where everyone was like, oh, AI. And those of us who worked in tech were like, this has been around, like ML, AI, like quantum computing, all of these things have been around like 10, 15, 20 years, and you're just now hearing about it.
Yeah, right. I want to get through some of these comments because we don't have that much time. And so I got asked a question, but I want to throw this to Mayor as well. You know, they asked me basically like what teams are ready for AI and what teams aren't ready for AI to be part of their process. So I'm going to say, for me, if you already have a bad process, I go into organizations all the time. If you already have a process that's not working, if your metrics are horrible, if you don't have a strict guideline to how you work through an infrastructure, how you work through candidates, introducing AI is probably the worst thing you can do. It screws up the process even more. It doesn't give you a sight line. It doesn't have somebody setting it up correctly. It doesn't do anything. So bad process will always be bad process, even with AI. So get the process right first, and then introduce the AI. Mayor, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about that quite loudly these days. That, you know, first make sure you fix your processes, or at least stop the leakage, and figure out where you have a problem before you start implementing that shiny new AI tool that's being talked about. You know, it's easy to get under the FOMO and jump the join that new bandwagon because it looks nice. But if I had to practically advise someone, because I talk to a lot of recruiters, right? I do a lot of demo of round one, a lot of new and different type of recruiters I talk to every day. What I tell them is that if you have a task that you do repeatedly, you may or may not hate that task, but something that you do it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that is something. Make a list of all those things and see if you can outsource that to an AI, right? And see how much time it frees up for you, right? And whether AI, for example, note taking, right? Scheduling interview calls, or the top of the funnel screening like round one. Sourcing can be, up to a certain extent can be that task. So if you can make a list of 5 things that is being repeatedly done in your team, start with at least one of them this quarter, and then take the next one next quarter. Let's take it slow. Yeah,
I agree. The administrative drag in recruiting for me is the part that holds us up from not being strategic partners, because we're spending so much time doing things we probably could get AI to do to be more efficient and more productive and move into that strategic role. We are close to end of time. I want to give you the last, Tejal and Mayor, your last final thoughts on this. Is it coming after us? Are we ready to do it? Like, what's happening out there, right? So, Tejal, I'm going to start with you. I want you to give any final thoughts you have to the audience.
It is not coming after us. It is coming after the tasks that are mundane, the tasks that you should not spend your time doing anyways. I have been harping the statement. I've said this over and over again since ChatGPT launch, and since Perplexity CEO said that AI is going to replace recruiters in 6 months. I'm like, AI is not going to replace good workers. AI is going to replace people that are not adapting it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Like, you are not going to be replaced, but if you don't adapt, just like when computers came about, like people that didn't adapt got replaced because you are not keeping up with the technology.
Tejal, tell people where to find you.
I'm on LinkedIn. My handle on LinkedIn is Tejal Reeves, but if you're looking for my profile, it's just Tejal Reeves. On Instagram and TikTok, I am Caffeinated Tejal because I can't live without my caffeine.
How many cups you got?
I love it. Love it. Love it.
I took up a new project, a new hobby where I'm making mugs, my own mugs, and designing my own mugs and making them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. May you are saying some final thoughts and then tell us
Sure,
where
I think.
all the things.
Sure. I think I'll go back to the title that we started with because it's quite amazing title. So the real question is not, am I training my replacement? It's, am I training my assistant and upskilling it to work, to do the work that I can do, but I can hire an assistant and let that assistant do their job so that I can focus on rather more important stuff. For example, for a recruiter actually talking to the candidates, asking them the right questions. So and that's why we built Round One, not to replace the recruiter, but to give them some time back that they actually really need. So yeah, you're not training your replacement, you are training your leverage. Go and use that leverage. Yeah.
No, I love it. I want to thank everybody for joining us. As for me, my name is Desiree Goldie. You can find me on LinkedIn every day. Please DM me, message me. I do answer most messages. Also, you can find my company, Do Better Consulting, at dobetterconsulting.net. If you're a founder or advisor who needs some help doing process and go to market and all the things. So I want to thank everybody. Please check out round1.ai. It is an amazing tool. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Cheers.